Sony's taking back exclusives for real this time and upping PlayStation Plus prices. Console performance speculation for GTA 6 may have you thinking about an upgrade. The Steam controller is yelling at people and Valve just can't stop winning our hearts. But can they win our hard-earned dollars? All that and a lot of nostalgic emotional rambling. Next, on this week's Triple Play. Sony's killing it lately after losing not one, but two antitrust lawsuits, alleging that players were forced to buy titles exclusively through their online storefront. Now, to clarify here before you go thinking that you can't be forced to buy anything, well, that may be true, but in the context of this particular arrangement, they really didn't give console owners an option to buy elsewhere. While other storefronts offer the ability to purchase gift cards and game codes at a discount on, say, Amazon or at Walmart, or another storefront that has a distribution deal with games publishers to host the game for download on their launcher, giving players an option to get a sale price or use whatever system they like. In April of 2019, Sony quietly denied other storefronts from selling digital codes for PlayStation games. Sony didn't just compete better, they destroyed the storefront next door. By pulling digital codes from outside retailers, they effectively turned the PlayStation Store into a closed, 100% controlled monopoly for digital PS4 and PS5 games. If you own a digital-only console like the PS5 Digital Edition, you have zero choice. You can't buy a used disc and you can't buy a cheaper digital code from Amazon. You pay whatever price Sony decides to set on any given day. The lawsuit argued the lack of choice artificially jacked up prices for gamers, taking away their ability to shop around for the best deal. So, well, they didn't really twist anyone's arm here. They did knowingly put a lot of people who were already invested in a bind. As a result of this lawsuit and the unanimously underwhelming performance of Bungie's latest hit Marathon, Sony's decided to take notes from Microsoft's greatest hits tape and not only raise the price of PlayStation Plus, but also keep all of their first-party titles off of PC going forward, which Microsoft didn't do. Yet, this brings me back to our thumbnail. Insomniac Games is a Sony exclusive studio, and the highly anticipated Wolverine game will not make it to PC, along with a lot of other upcoming titles people have been waiting for years. This also raises another really important question in my mind. Given the fact that GTA 6 is nearly here and some of us don't have a system to play it on, being that it's not launching on PC for at least a year after consoles, also most of you may actually be ill-equipped as it is to really enjoy this game on launch day. And honestly, my underlying concern here from a jaded consumer's perspective is that this game is launching at a crazy time yet again. Coincidentally, another Rockstar game is launching right as a current console generation is coming to an end and a new console generation is on the horizon. I don't see a pattern here. Do you? And judging by the way this game is looking, it's probably going to push our game systems to their max. I've been wondering, from the perspective of somebody who doesn't own a console but is dying to play this game as soon as it launches, which console to go with, and if it's even worth it to shell out the extra money for the very best of the best. Given the current news about PlayStation exclusives and the fourth revival of Xbox, there's a lot of variables at play here, so keep all that in mind during this comparison, because the more I think about it, the less I think performance is the deciding factor for your next console purchase, or your decision not to purchase. The folks over at GameGPU.com just posted an in-depth article comparing the rendering capabilities of each console to some of the new technologies being used in Rockstar's newest iteration of their Rage engine, which is expected to bring unprecedented crowd simulation density, a highly complex physics model, and most importantly, the complete abandonment of traditional rasterized lighting in favor of ray-traced global illumination. Based on this info, they were able to make some preliminary conclusions about what graphics and what specific settings will be used in game. Now, I know you're like me and you're probably calling bullshit on this one out the gate, but hear me out. Any information that leads me to make a better informed purchase of high-end hardware is worth a good read, and maybe, just maybe, you'll thank me one day for helping you not cave in and just buy whatever, or for lending you some much-needed insight on whether making a console purchase at the end of said console's life cycle is even worth it. So here we go. As it turns out, the Xbox Series S is toast. Microsoft's entry-level console, with its 4 teraflops of computing power and reduced memory bandwidth, predictably requires radical compromises with the game's entire visual foundation built around ray trace global illumination. The Series S risks being unable to handle the load.
Wow.
And it basically goes on to say that the devs are probably going to have to do away with ray tracing and just go with a baked-in lighting solution. Decreased hair quality, reflections, and the native resolution is probably going to have to drop in highly congested areas or crowded places down to like 900 or 720p. Aggressive upscaling will most likely be used to render the game on modern TVs, and I'm going to go ahead and jump in and state the obvious here that not only will it look like dog shit, but it's also going to be locked at 30 frames per second, if that. 24! For the base model PlayStation 5 and Series X, the story's a bit different, but only if you value graphics over frames here, because according to the article, a stable 60 frames at launch is entirely out of the question. The main problem here being the Zen 2 processors these consoles are currently equipped with, which are presumed to be heavily limited by the amount of NPCs in the game and having to calculate the behaviors of said NPCs. The realistic target for the base PS5 and Series X is a stable and cinematic 30 frames per second. Visually, the engine will rely on dynamic resolutions in the 1150p to 1440p range with subsequent upscaling to 4K. It is on these devices that Rage 9 will truly shine. Accurate transparent reflections on shop windows, per-pixel ray trace lighting, and accurate character shading inside vehicles will create a depth of field unmatched in previous games. So, there is some good news here. We can all probably assume the best for the PlayStation 5 Pro, with 16.5 teraflops and PSSR bringing this console to the front of the pack in terms of performance. Most likely offering a 40 FPS mode for screens running at 120Hz with available variable refresh rates, this may end up being the closest solution to PC quality graphics you'll be able to get at launch. The only question I have is how much is it worth to you to have that experience at launch when right now a PS5 Pro will set you back $900? And that's not including the cost of the game itself, which could end up launching closer to $80 and possibly more if you want to jump into the multiplayer experience right away. There's more in this article related to future consoles, but at this point, I don't think the PS6 or the Xbox Helix are really going to have any issues running this game at a stable 60 frames per second. If anything, 60 frames will be the new 30. I'm a little frame fiend though, and I need my FPS over 70 or something ain't right. Next up, I'm talking about the Scream controller. And not only that, but speculating highly about just how Valve is planning to pull off a win when it comes to the Steam machine. Just who is this console for? Because I happen to exist well within the market it's clearly aimed at, and I'm not spending a dime until I see some games running on it. And like, a lot of them. Now, I did purchase a Steam Deck before launch, and man was I pleasantly surprised. I wasn't happy because it ran my games at the highest settings or performed exceptionally well. I was happy that it filled a need in my life that I didn't know existed as much as it did before I put this little device in my hands and kept finding reasons to keep coming back to it. It didn't invent handheld gaming, but it definitely redefined it for me. I like gadgets. Yes, I love them. I have too many of them, and I'm the type of person that loves to learn how to use them and do things with them that I'm probably not supposed to do, but I do them anyways. Case in point, the Steam controller wasn't something I thought I needed or even wanted until I saw a clip of it landing on the floor and screaming in pain. Now, I scoffed when I saw somebody clip it to their Steam Deck to use as a controller. That seemed a bit redundant to me, but hey, whatever floats your boat, brother. I'm not here to judge, but I do have a limit. I really like my 8-bit DOE wireless controller, and it served me very well. My needs are small, and I find myself editing videos now more than gaming. Hopefully one day I'll be able to replace talking on camera with a real job, but for now, I have somewhere not so exciting I'm supposed to be for 40 hours a week. Which brings me to my next point. If Valve can offer a point of entry that's not only cost-effective but upgradable, this could ultimately lead me down that path. I always imagined that as a dad, a husband, a budding content creator, and a half-decent friend, at least I think, there might be some time for me to actually sit down and play the games I love so dearly. I never imagined a time where I'd grow out of gaming, but there is a time where you definitely grow up in gaming, and it becomes the least of many priorities by default, unless you live in your mom's basement or the government pays you money for computer stuff. I'm not judging, dude. Look, I need a solution to that problem, and I need it to integrate seamlessly into my life. If I get home at 10 p.m. and I've been at work all day and my wife is still cracking away at her own work projects, can I just turn it on and have complete access to my Steam library and also access other storefronts I use as well? Is this hardware going to be effective enough to carry me past the idea that I need an Xbox Helix or a PlayStation 6 because the tech is just that much better at nearly the same price? Is buyer's remorse going to set in down the road? These are questions I'd like answered before I put my hard-earned money in one basket. Because in today's volatile market, where prices are subject to go up at any given moment when it comes to games or gaming hardware, I'm becoming a bit more skeptical. And you should be too. The hardest decision I've ever made when it comes to an entertainment purchase was to switch to PC gaming. This is definitely enthusiast territory, and it's not something to be taken lightly unless money is of no object to you. So looking at the Steam machine and comparing it to the tech that's going to be on offer with the next generation of consoles has me a bit perplexed. I feel like Valve missed the boat on releasing this thing, and it should have happened a year ago. I could be completely surprised, however, and it could be the best thing that I thought I never needed until I saw it in action. Can Valve repeat the success of the Steam Deck and set the bar again with limited hardware? I suppose. We'll see. Anyways, that's all I got for this week's Triple Play, but let me know in the comments if you plan on buying a console specifically ahead of the GTA release, and if so, which team and what model. I also want to know if you're not buying a console and why. Besides the obvious. You think the Steam machine is DOA, or are you as hopeful for its success as I am? And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more gaming-related content, including game don'ts, game do's, and game reviews. But for now, I gotta go lean heavily into a potential gambling addiction so I can afford a new console before Turkey Day. Later.